Hey guys, in this video we're just going to go over the 1.3 update for QuestMap Pro. Now to begin with, this update has been available for a day or two already, so you may already have this in your launcher. Well, you will have it in your launcher, you may already have it in your project if you've done the update. The update notes that are available here, the written ones, will be linked in the description below as always. Let's jump into the engine and have a look. So we've got three main additions and a couple of changes. We'll go over the additions first. So I'm just going to hit play to show two of the additions. So we just jump out here. The first one is a really simple one. The first two are both very simple, but they've both been very highly requested. So I just want you to pay attention to just above here on the mini-map, we've got a little location widget. So when we enter an area, it fades in and says we're at the beach. When we move out, it fades out. So that's the first one. The second one you may have already noticed. The mini-map now has an option to rotate with the player. So before, if we just jump into our controller and go to the minimap settings, we can turn this off and I'll just make sure that it's apparent. So this is what the minimap was like before. The player marker would rotate and the minimap would stay static, but a lot of people wanted the option to have the minimap rotate. So if you jump into the controller and just go to the configuration on the world map, and then under minimap configuration, go to align minimap with player view, turn that on, and then that will rotate the minimap with the player. So it's pretty responsive. Obviously it'll depend on your minimap update rate, but as you can see, it works pretty well. Now there are a couple of little things here. Because of the way Unreal Engine renders textures, there can be instances at particular zooms on the minimap as you're crossing over tiles with the tier grid system, where you might see little lines there when the map is on a certain diagonal. They're really hard to get to happen, and they're not very common at all. So that's hopefully a good sign that you won't have to deal with it, but just know that there might be a few little artifacts. I'm not sure if changing the texture filtering options might rectify some of that, but you're welcome to try that. So the other options we have for the minimap rotating is we've got this one here, maintain minimap marker orientation. It's on by default. If I turn it off and jump back in here, I want you to pay attention to, let me just get out of the box. Here, if we look at the minimap, you can see this icon here, which is the home icon. Same one here. As we turn, if that setting is off, the icon's going to rotate. Now, if you have really simple shapes and you don't mind that, I'd recommend turning it off, because it is going to incur a very, very slight performance increase to have it on. But if you want to fix that, and by default it will be fixed, we turn on this maintain minimap marker orientation, and that will ensure that the markers stay correct. So as you can see, that one there is now rotating with the player. Other than that, the other option for rotation is based on what is rotating on the map. So if you scroll down to the player marker, we actually reuse this option here, use character rotation. If you've got a third person project, you might have used this to have the character marker rotate with the character rather than the camera. So if you turn this on, that will do the same thing with the minimap. The minimap will rotate based on the character's rotation, not the camera. So that's an option there for you. Now the location widget does also have some settings there under the manager. You just jump in here and you can turn the location widget off. You can turn the animation of it fading in and out off, and you can also control how long the fade takes. Pretty simple, but they're there for you. The final one, the addition that we have, is this one here. So if I just jump in here, this is discovery actors. They are intended to facilitate the sort of radio tower stuff you get in like Ubisoft open world games, but I've expanded them to be a bit more useful. So in this instance, we've actually got the radio tower set up remotely. So we're sitting on this lookout tower, we have this button in front of us. Over there you can see the island. We can't actually see the island, it is obscured by fog, and there's no markers over here. But if we hit this, you'll see an animation, and we now have this area discovered, and you can see we've got an icon here. We can fast travel to that because it's set up to be discovered. So that's using this discovery actor here. So if we jump into quest map, blueprints, actors, world objects, we have this discovery actor here. And that's how we control this. Now, these are pretty straightforward. You can trigger them with whatever you want. So in this case, I'm just using a blueprint with a button on it. But basically, whenever you trigger it, it will go through to quest map. So in here, we go and we can set up the animation to, the discovery to be animated. So this is useful if you want, say, the radio towers to have that pulse animation, but you don't want a NPC telling a player where something is to have an animation, or maybe you're discovering an area very far away and you just don't need the animation because the player's not going to see it. You can turn it off on a per actor basis. We can use this option here to visualize the area that is going to be discovered. Now we can resize that. Now what this does, it doesn't actually clear the map fog in this size. This is the area within which we can collect landmarks. By default, landmarks are manually added. So if we reset this, or even if we make this really, really big to cover most of the world, it's still only got one landmark here discovered. And that's because I wanted to set it up so you could manually say the player discovered this place and this place, but not other ones. Maybe you want a secret location or something. However, if you want everything in this area, all you do is hit collect landmarks and it will collect all the landmarks within that area. And that way you've got that built. And you can reset your collection radius even if you want. The decal that shows this is actually removed on begin play. So even if you leave this on, it's not going to be visible to the player. Other than that, oops, let's just reset that. The other options we have for the discovery actors, if we jump back into our demo controller, we have on the manager discovery actors, so we can set them up to clear the fog. If you don't want them to clear the fog, that's obviously an option there as well. You can set up the default state of the landmarks it discovers, so maybe you just want the player to know there is something there but not what it is. You can do that. You can set the pulse size, so this will also determine the size of the cleared fog, but that is the size of that animation. You can set the color of that animation, how long it takes, and also the opacity. So there's a bunch of settings there to play with. I'm a little concerned there might be a couple of bugs with this system. I've tested it a bunch, but if you run into any, please let me know. Hopefully they'll be really easy to fix and I'll get a bug fix out quickly. The final change I want to go over is not an addition, but rather a change to an existing system, which is the landmarks. So the landmarks originally had just two collision settings. They had the sphere and the box collision. I've now added the capsule as an option as well, which has meant that this is no longer controlled by a Boolean, but instead is controlled by an enumerator. Unfortunately, what this does mean is if you update the quest map files, you're going to need to go through and just reset what collision you're using. By default, it's on box, so if you're just using the box one everywhere, then that's fine. But if you want to use or have used sphere, or you want to switch over to capsule, you just need to go through and do that. And the reason I've done this is that things like radio towers, with the new location widget, you want it to still say you're in the radio tower and you're at the top. So obviously that would be a case where you might use a capsule. Now, a couple of things just so you're aware. In order to get the location widget working, you can just add that anywhere into your widget. So if we open the example widget, I've got it here, but this is its own thing. So we can move this wherever we want and it will work fine. During the integration, you go through and you add an interface to your widget. So you add the parent UI one, and then you'll go through and add the world map size box, the widget, the world map widget, and the compass widget. There is now one also for the location widget. So you'll just go through and fill that out the same way as you do in the other ones. The other thing I just wanted to cover is how to activate the discovery actors. So in this instance, we've got this blueprint. And all we're doing is we've got a reference, we're using the interact system from the demo, but you just need a way to reference your controller, and then you go through and you just call this event here from the manager. So off the Quest Map Pro manager, if we jump back into our demo is probably the easiest way to do it. This one here, you just go discovery actor, and you do activate discovery actor. Just tell it which one you want to use. That would be, in this case, the one that is over on this island here. and then that will do it for you. So this allows you to use it in quests for, say, an NPC to tell a player where a location is, as radio towers, whatever you want. Any way you want to activate it, you can use it there. Hopefully that all makes sense. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them below or jump in the Discord. And thank you very much for watching.